4. And here we are. We are with our dear friend Ian from Reiki Zen. And we're going to be having a little bit of a discussion here about his path to Reiki. He is a Reiki master. He's been doing this for a whole handful of years. But we're going to let him get into it. We're going to let him tell us about his story. One of the things I love about Ian is he's very down to earth and authentic. And this is what we're looking for. We're looking for people that are just grounded and real. So without any further ado, namaste, dear brother. It's an honor to have you. How are you doing today?
I'm very well, thank you. Thank you for getting in touch. It's been far too long since we last chatted. And I think you were on my YouTube channel, I think the last time we chatted. We were talking about you and where you are and what got you on your path. So it's an honor to be able to reciprocate and give a little bit of this back to you. And thank you for the kind words, the kind introduction. That's very, very lovely. Thank you.
Oh, it's lovely, brother. I say it because it's true. So, without any beating around the bush, let's get into the thick of it. I'd love to hear about your story. How did you find Reiki? How did Reiki come to you, and what were the sort of the triggers that drove you into the proverbial arms of Reiki?
Right. Where do we start with this one? So many years ago, I was really, really having difficulties with my identity, who I was, the world, life. I was going through this weird kind of like spiritual awakening thing. I didn't really know what was going on. I thought I was going cuckoo, I thought I was absolutely cracking up. And so I was dealing with all this mental health stuff, anxiety, depression, panic attacks. My body was flaring up with different skin issues and joint issues. And oh my God, it was just crazy how the mind can do so much to the physical body. So I started striking a bit of friendship and a conversation with it was actually a ex-work colleague of my brother's, and he just randomly got in touch one day and said, we just kind of like struck up a friendship, and he found out about like kind of like my mental health. We got chatting, and he said to us, he said, "Have you ever thought about doing some meditation to try and help?" And I wasn't really in that place at that time. I was never really thought I was that person to do that. I was in sort of like my late 20s, so it's all about, friends going out, doing this, doing whatever, just being in the matrix and being in life. And so I started meditating, and I could only meditate for a short period of time to begin with. And then over the months, over the years that followed, this meditation became more and more profound. But in quite a short space of time, I came to the realization that this meditation gave me such great clarity of mind. And I came to the realization that a lot of the people that were around me, the people that I worked with, friends, co-workers, all that sort of stuff, a lot of them were causing, not all of them, but a lot of them were causing a lot of this negative energy that was around me that I didn't really know what to call it. And I was just kind of like living within it. So when I got this clarity of mind, this clarity kind of like told me, this inner voice told me that it's time, I need to leave here. I need to go and work somewhere else. And just around about that time, the universe kind of like pushed me because my job at that time in that role came up for redundancy. So it was kind of like internally, I was thinking, is this like kind of a cue? Is this a message? Is this something I have to pay attention to? Is this my chance to now step free? So I did that. I took the opportunity. I stepped free. I then went to work in a coffee shop in the UK and still doing my meditation. The coffee shop was incredibly haunted, and I'd always been interested in the paranormal and in ghosts and all that sort of stuff. And there was one evening we were just cleaning up, tidying up, getting ready to close the shop, and I found these leaflets about Reiki on this mantelpiece, and I was like, "Oh, that's interesting." And something in the back of my head was like, "Ping! You need to know about that. You need to know a little bit more." So I was like, "Right, okay." I think if I hadn't been meditating, would I have noticed that? Possibly, I don't know, because there was something within the word Reiki. So years prior to that, I used to practice Aikido. So I knew the word ki was about energy, this energy force. So I knew there was something to do with this energy in this Rei ki. And that's kind of like how it's pronounced, Rei and ki. So I was like, there's something to do with about energy in that. And then the guy that was on these leaflets actually came in the coffee shop pretty much nearly every day. So I struck up a conversation with him, and we got chatting and whatever. And he said, "Look," he said, you got lots of questions. Why don't you just come along for a session? Your first session's always free anyway. If you feel the benefit from it, you've got nothing to lose, and then you can pay from thereafter." So I was like, "Right, okay then." So I did that. I went for my first session. Really didn't know what to expect. Totally open to whatever, because I was at that point. I'd been on various forms of medication, and then I was on beta blockers because of panic attacks and all this other stuff that was going on. And so I went for this Reiki session, and something just flipped the switch. That's all I can really describe it as. I don't. It just really kind of like lifted a veil off everything, and I was like, wow. And I was seeing all these colors and all these swirls, and I was feeling all these tingles. I was feeling little twitches in my body. I was like, wow, but I really don't know what just happened. But I need to know more about this. And so I kept going every 2 weeks for another treatment, for another Reiki session. And then I paused for a little bit, and then I started going back again. And basically the reason why I paused was I just wanted to see what the difference was between consistency and then pausing, just having a bit of a gap to see what if was it just me? Was I just making it up? Is it just in my head, or is there something actually going on? Um, and then after that pause, yeah, I was still doing my meditation, I was still doing that, but it was something just wasn't quite right. And then I knew I had to start going back. So I started going back for these sessions, and I just knew I had to. There's something inside of me was just telling me, you need to learn this, you need to practice this. And then I found out the guy was actually a Reiki master teacher. And so he could teach me the various levels through Reiki. And that kind of like, that was just the doorway. It just opened me up to where I am now, where now I'm a Reiki teacher myself and a practitioner, but I practice so many other different things as well alongside that help on so many different levels. But Reiki and meditation are my true, absolute love and foundations of everything. And Reiki and the meditation just keeps me so grounded, so as balanced, really balanced, to just face whatever life throws at us. And do I get uprooted a little bit? And of course I do. I'm human, but I have like a system, and I have a way where I can just rebalance and reharmonize and reconnect back to this essence that's within us, that we're wanting to. I think everyone on some aspect of life, um, they must have some curiosity about something, about life, about why we're here, what we're looking for, what we're searching for. And a lot of the teachings within Reiki is this self-discovery, self-awareness, and just balancing and understanding this inner energy that is pervading every atom and every cell within us. And it's just reconnecting and remembering who and what we truly are. And that is kind of like, yeah, that for me, when I'd learned Reiki level 1, because there's three main levels in the Asui method that I practice. That there's lots of different types of Reiki out there these days, but it's the Asui method that I use. it's usually 3 levels. So you have level 1, level 2, and level 3. So your level 3 is your master or master teacher. So depending on the teacher, they can split it into 2, but I teach them together because I just think you may as well. They just flow so well together. But Reiki level 1, level 2, level 3, they all have a process known as an attunement. Or in Japan, traditionally, it was known as a reiju, which was basically like a spiritual blessing to this energy to kind of like open these meridians back up. And after each attunement, there was just like knowings, downloads, the information that was just coming from within. You know, I was connecting to guides, I was connecting to spirit animals, I was connecting much more deeply to myself. I had a deeper understanding of myself. And as you unfold, and as I've unfolded on this journey, it's just become a deepening. Every practice, every client, every meditation, you're going deeper, you're going deeper, you're going deeper every single time. And I don't think we ever at that point that we know everything. I think if you ever meet somebody that says they know everything, that they're just full of ego. And I think that's the honesty that we have to take into every practice that we have, is that really we know nothing and we are nothing, and there is no thing within us. We are just this energy. And as you go deeper and deeper and deeper, all these sort of like little tweaks and little knowings come out, and you just think, wow. And you become so grateful and you become so blessed to just understand a little bit. You might not know everything, but you know a little bit. And yeah, what else can I say? It really did just open the doorways, it opened the floodgates for just so much more. And I think everybody that I know that has learned Reiki, become attuned to Reiki, it's pushed them on a totally new pathway, on a totally new trajectory. And it's a little bit like when people talk about when they get a piece of moldavite, and it's sort of like the world around them sort of crumbles, and then it pushes them into like these directions that they're meant to be on. And that's a little bit like Reiki, but it's a lot more gentle and soothing. It's not as kind of like, you know, apocalyptic or anything like that. It's very, you just get little downloads and knowings that, oh, actually, you know what, I'm going to give that a go, and I'll see if that works and resonates. And if it doesn't, I'll give that a go. And you get all these little different doorways open up, and crystals and tarot and all this other stuff sort of like started gravitating towards us just to try it out. And yeah, it was just, yeah, it just opened so much. It really did. And we're still learning now to this day. So yeah, we're truly humbled and truly blessed by it all.
This is a hard question, but since you mentioned crystals, what is your favorite type of crystal? Do you have a favorite?
Well, yeah, I don't really have a favorite as such. I think I have a go-to, and my go-to would be amethyst, because I think it's just such a great all-rounder, or a quartz, like a clear quartz. The first few crystals that I ever bought, just to try out, just to see what's this all about? Why am I seeing all this stuff about crystals? What do they mean? Is it real? Is it woo-woo? Is it just nonsense? What is it? And I had a really, really deep, profound connection to crystals, and I could really feel what they would do for me. I don't know if it would be the same for what it would do for other people, but for me, when I held a crystal and I sat with it and meditated with it, I just saw in my mind's eye how it was going to help me, and I would use it, and lo and behold, it helped me. And I'm just like, wow, this is like really like kind of like weird. But the first few that I ever got was amethyst, clear quartz, citrine, red jasper, and then I actually got a moldavite. I saw one, and I saw these videos about moldavite, so I was like, let's give that a go. So I got a piece of moldavite, and that was just like, yeah, crazy. But it was good. It wasn't like a lot of people say that they can't wear moldavite because it's too high vibrational. I could wear it and I could I used to meditate with it on my third eye and on my heart, and working on my energy centers with it. And every position that I would put it on, I would feel something different, something more profound. But yeah, it really opened me up to, I don't know, just like an even deeper knowing, a deeper awareness. It helped with like clairvoyance and these spiritual activations that were going on as well. It helped with a lot of that in my early sort of development. So yeah.
Funny you speak about Moldavite. I had I've been a collector for like decades, and I've got a collection, and I usually wear Moldavite. I'm not wearing it now, but I've got it attached to my Conte, and I've got nice pieces, like I've got big pieces, 20 grams and 30 grams. Those are the sizes I collected. But my first piece of Moldavite I got in 1999 was a 55, 56, 54 gram piece of Moldavite. It was dear to me, and it was stolen by a crow in Sri Lanka. I put it on the wall, and I had an outside shower with my well, and looked, and it was gone, and it was right in front of me. And the crows were like all over the show, like around there. The crow had come to sit there, and it didn't occur to me that he would take the Moldavite. It was in a little pouch. Took the whole thing. I was like, oh my God, they got that. That was like, and I didn't realize at the time that I'm never going to get another 55 gram piece of Moldavite. But my first was also an amethyst. Here, I wanted to share something with you. You're probably aware of it, but nice for the viewers. You see, for me, something that's quite important to me is to understand the universality. I think that's a better way of putting it, of culture, and how all things stem essentially from a singular root. And so this is fun, right? And I don't know if you're aware of this, but I'm like, okay, so when we look at in Shintoism, right? So the word Rei from Reiki is deeply connected with the solar deity, the sun. And it comes through in many related contexts. And Amaterasu Omikani. Notice the word Om in the first part. It goes back to Sanskrit. There's no joke there with that etymology. And Rei in a Shinto context, right? It means soul, spirit. Soul in Greek is the word for the sun, right? And if you go to Vedic law, you'll find the same idea here. Surya, right? Surya, the solar deity, is the ultimate foundational source of prana, or life force energy. So the life force energy is relayed via the sun. The sun is, hence all green things grow because of the sun. But it gets interesting. So there's an etymological connection there, like a receipt. And when we look at the ancient Egyptian law, Re is the name of the sun. They say Ra, but Ra is not correct. Re is the correct name. So you can see that this word Re, which is part of Reiki, must be some very ancient universal word that was a pre-root language word that was spread through all the languages that relates to the spirit, the soul, and the sun. Isn't that a beautiful thing to realize how universal that word is? Rei, and then ki, obviously, like Japanese. I also trained in Japanese martial arts, and ki is like, you got to work that hara, baby.
Work
that hara.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm always diving into words. And while you were talking, I just got this inspiration. I thought, Rei, there must be a connection with the ancient Egyptian solar deity, because that's the source of healing. Rei, the healing rays of the sun. So there's an interesting point, and also it takes us back to our own internal sun, right? Our soul.
Well, that's just what I was about to say, actually, because Mikao Usui, who refound and rediscovered this energy, his teachings are always pointing to our great bright light, which is obviously what you were just saying there, the light within us, the sun within us, and the obviously the word Ray, you know, and a lot of his studies took him to like ancient China and probably further than that as well, looking into the depth of how the Buddha and Jesus and whatever, and these ancient texts of how these deities and these beings could heal, you know, and heal themselves, and provide healing. And that's where kind of like his practice is pointing to, is to rediscover that light within you. So it's very, very empowering, because I think a lot of the way I practice is I try to empower people to actually discover that light within them, rather than come to me once a month for a Reiki healing or once every 2 weeks for a Reiki healing, and then that's it, and they go away, and then they come back for another Reiki healing, and they don't do any sort of like work in between. What I'm trying to do is trying to get them into a practice where actually that part of them is already there. They just need to rediscover it and rediscover how powerful they really are, and rediscover that light within themselves, and know that they already are that energy. They already are that Reiki. That light is just there. It's they just have to become more present and discover it. And through the Reiki teachings, through what we practice, through the mantra, through the practices, through the Reiki principles, that is pointing us closer and closer towards it. And I found when you use the symbols mantras from level 2, when you use the Reiki principles, and even seeing them in Japanese, the downloads, the information you get from that is just unreal. It really is. You can say the Reiki principles is things like, just for today, I let go of anger. Just for today, I let go of worry. But when you change it into Japanese and you say it in Japanese, like Kyo Dake wa Ikaruna Shimpai Suna, the downloads that you get by repeating that over and over and over again, it opens something else within. And I do like Reiki shares and things via Zoom with various people. And on the very first one, we did the Reiki principles. We went through the Reiki principles. We did them in English, and then I did them in Japanese. And some of them were crying, and some of them were just like, "I've got to learn that. I've got to learn how to say it in Japanese," because there's just something different to it. There's a force behind those words, whether it's the authenticity because it's Japanese, whether it's that, I really don't know, but there is something deeply profound behind those words that we use, and something very, very deep and mystical. And I think when we start to say it ourselves, we're channeling that energy, from within that system. Really, really beautiful.
I might be able to add to that a little bit, from the esoteric occult fields of the philosophies behind the practices related to those techniques of Eastern and Western occultism, or in the East, it's sort of more to do with it's less occult based, and it's more mystical in terms of the path, where the mystic and the path of the occultist are somewhat different. Don't want to get into that now, though. But there is something which is considered egregoric, and the egregoric power has got to do with, for example, let's say you do a movement, and you do it 1,000,000 times, and you've got a particular thought and intention when you do that movement will become imbued with that energy. And the same for a word. So words, like movements, like crystals, become charged by our intention. And so if they've been, over the period since the master came out with those chants, although those chants probably come from more ancient sources, people have been devotionally using those chants for a long time. Many people, and each person, it's like a battery. They plug it in and
Mm,
charge it a little bit from their own energy field, and they
yeah.
just keep adding to the charge. They borrow some, and they add some, borrow some and add some. But only,
Mm,
as you know, when you're borrowing energy, the original source doesn't get depleted,
mm.
right? Because
Yeah,
that's not
yeah,
how this works.
yeah.
Like you borrow from me, I've still got what I started with, only you're giving me more. I'm increasing. You know, the
Mm.
same as I'm sure. Like you probably find that when you're doing energy work with people, your will might get tired, your mind might get tired, but your energy system probably actually also benefits from the work that you do with others. Or would that be a good way of putting it? How do you?
You know, a lot of people will ask me after a session, well, how do you feel after a session? Do you feel drained? Do you feel tired? You know, and I don't. I feel amazing. I feel better than when I started. I had two clients yesterday morning, and um, like when I'd started, it was quite early on in the morning, earlier than what I normally start. So I was a little bit kind of like a little bit bleary eyed, not quite with it, but just went into the sessions totally fine. After the two sessions, I was just like, wow. I was just like, I came outdoors, the sun was beaming down. I was so happy. I just felt full, felt vibrant. I felt full of energy. Yeah, I always feel better um, from finishing a treatment. But there's a lot of people that I see around social media and on different Facebook pages. They always say that they become or they feel depleted or they feel drained, or they want to protect themselves from negative energy and all these sort of like terms that they use. And the way I try and explain it to them is basically you're actually trying too much with this. Let go. Like it's the biggest lesson. Like even the Reiki principles are telling us from the very foundations, let go. Let go of the ego, let go of the anger, let go, because the ego is fear-based anyway. So all that anger and all that worry is all fear-based. So let go of the fear, let go of the worry, just trust, be grateful, sit in that light that you are, and allow the healing to take place, whatever needs to take place. And people become so obsessed by it's them doing the healing, it's them doing the practice, it's the energy coming from them, the thinking about it, the thing, oh, what am I feeling? What am I seeing? What am I sensing? Always with the mind, too busy thinking about what they're feeling, what they're experiencing, what they're going through, but never thinking about just allowing the client to experience what they need to experience. And sometimes our egos and our minds can take over the experience, and a lot of practitioners are quite quick to say, well, I saw this, I saw this, I saw this, and I felt that, and I felt that, and oh, I think I've pulled this from you, and da 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 da. But they're just kind of like they're casting their perception onto the client rather than the practitioner saying, how was that for you? How are you feeling? Was there anything you experienced? Not that you need to experience anything, but what did you feel anything? Did you see anything? It's their session. It's not the practitioner's session. And I think sometimes practitioners, maybe it's enthusiasm, maybe it is ego, maybe they just want to feel like they're the one with the power, rather than when we're in a place of healing, there is no giver and there is no receiver. There is just a symbiotic balance of two harmonious energies coming together in this wonderful stasis, this wonderful place where we're just building and holding, and it's absolutely beautiful. It really really is. And if we can let go of the mind, let go of this element of like I'm giving you Reiki and like thinking that you're doing it, let go of that and it becomes even more powerful. It really really does, because there's no invasion of the mind, there's no invasion of the ego, there's no invasion of us thinking that we're in control.
I like the way you put that, and I think it's really important. Like the TikTok, what do we call them? Evolutional thing that's happening in the YouTube Shorts world. There's a lot of new ages that are coming up with all sorts of ideas that aren't necessarily like grounded.
Mm,
And yeah, like you say, there's this whole idea of people being in a paradigm of limitation mentally because their minds have got a belief system that's faulty. And I think like that's like probably quite a telling point. If they're feeling so drained, look, like I can understand that sometimes like I will feel tired after talking to clients, but that's when they are going through an intensely emotional time and I'm trying to support them through like heavy emotion. Someone's like passed away and someone's just like suffering, and empathically you feel that sadness, but that's not quite the same thing. That's like when you're listening to them talk, right?
Yeah.
And Reiki should be not that, right? It should just
Mm.
be you're like a river, and you're
Yeah.
flowing with the river, and the river's flowing
Yeah.
through you, and that to me, like, I don't know how that could ever tire you out. I mean, the act of concentration, if you do it a lot, concentrating
Mm.
is going to tire your mind out, because if you doing one session after another, you're concentrating on that energy flow. That
Mm.
takes mental concentration, but that's not quite the same as your energies being depleted.
Yeah.
And I think that this is a big problem where people want to play this control game, and it
Mm.
probably says more about their lives than the session.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. I think on some level, I think we all have this um, auto response system that thinks that we're always in control and we always have to be in control of something. We that must not happen that way. It must happen this way. I've visualized it that way. It's like people with manifestation. They talk about manifestation and attracting things into their field, into their reality, whatever. But how do we even consciously prepare ourselves or know exactly how God or the universe is going to provide something? And we can't rationalize that. We can't think about that. We're, especially with our mortal, feeble brains, as the way that it is, we can't conceptualize how it's going to happen. And things that I've worked towards that egoically years ago, I thought, well, yeah, I'm going to do some manifestation. I'm going to sit down. I'm going to do some meditation. I'm going to visualize it. I'm going to feel it. I'm going to be with it. And it's going to happen by this date, But if I'm not prepared myself mentally and emotionally, if I'm not prepared and I don't have systems in place and I'm not really fully in on that, then I'm not going to bring anything into my field. And it's through the action, it's through the doing, it's through the diligence, it's through the process, it's through having every little thing in place before it comes into your reality. And it's taken me years and years and years to kind of like realize that, because you learn about manifestation and energy healing and all this sort of stuff that a lot of people talk about. But they don't talk much about how long a process can take. I mean, how long can a process take in our terms? But how long does the process take in energetic terms? Because there is no time, there is no distance. It's just when we're fully ready to receive, when everything's set up. And sometimes, I mean, when I first started the Reiki business up, it was distance only because we were going through COVID and all that sort of stuff. Um, so it was distance only that I was working with clients. And I thought I had everything set up. And I had this sudden influx of clients, and I was like, shit. I was like, I haven't got this set up, I haven't got that set up. And I was kind of like fumbling and trying to get everything in place. And it's through all of those accidents, it's through all those mistakes, it's through all those failures that you realize, actually, I've got so much more to prepare myself to be able to accept that and accept that way of being, accept that life. So yeah, there's a lot more to it than what is kind of like brushed over in a lot of TikTok and YouTube videos. They don't really go into the elements of it. They just say, oh, just sit with it, meditate with it, visualize it, see what it feels like, and then boom, it's going to be there. And it's like, most of it's BS, it really is.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. In fact, I'll share this image here. I'm so tired of hearing everybody talk about how the third eye is the pineal gland, right?
Mm,
Because when you look at the infrastructure of the Akshana chakra, which is like the center here that we're talking about, the Guru chakra, and it's the Om is the substance that is it's resonating outwards from this chakra. That's the bij, that's the seed mantra for that chakra. You'll see that there's two petals. That's the petal Kasham and the petal Hum. And these two petals represent control, masculine force, externalization, and the subject of internalization, what you're talking about. And so
mm,
everybody is focusing on one petal, that control. The pineal gland represents control, it controls the
mm,
central nervous system. But the pituitary gland represents the emotional, hormonal receptivity, and that receptivity, which is more related to the right brain and the left side of the body,
mm,
and you know, to the front side of the body, the descending currents, as opposed to the ascending right side of the body and the left brain, and the ascending backward current that creates this sort of yolk egg of energy. And so people are like one-sided, lopsided. And this is, like you say, this is the reason why I think that it doesn't work, because people are hopping around on one leg trying to figure out why they can't walk.
yeah, yeah. Basically, going round and round in circles.
And they think they're manifesting. It's quite sad though, because like you say, that there's a powerful emotional context, and I think that's one of the things that's possibly really important for Reiki. I imagine that possibly a lot of focus. It's very interesting because the nature of reality is, it's like, obviously it's a dream that's created in the parietal lobes, but all the information of all the senses move through the thalamus, and the pineal is like a little pimple attached to the thalamus, right? And that
Mm.
recodes all of the information of the senses other than smell. So there's an interesting thing, like the use of incense and the use of smelling things. Do you use that a lot? And what's the Reiki idea behind that?
You know, I used to. I like using incense and I like using sage and things like that, but I don't use it alongside Reiki treatments as such. I just don't. I just like my understanding now is Reiki is it's all around us. It's everything. You know, it's universal life force. It's consciousness. It's every aspect. It's in the air. It's in the earth. It's in the soil. It's in the grass. It's in the trees. It's in the clouds. It's beyond that. You know, it's every single atom that is around us. Um, and I think if there is so much light that obviously we're searching for this light internally, we're searching for this great bright light, as Mikao Usui uh, talks about within his teachings. We're searching for this great bright light. So if we can see that great bright light in everything around us and not be dumbed down or not be overshadowed by the bullshit that we see in the world, the negativity, the emotions, the reactions, all the stuff that's on screens that we see in everyday life. If we can kind of like actually see the goodness in every interaction and the light within every interaction, because every interaction has to take place to have either a reaction of maybe a positive or a negative, because it always is going to be a positive or a negative. It's the yin and yang balance. And how we perceive that, if we just perceive it all as a negative, then all we're doing is harnessing negative energy. If we can alter our way of thinking within the world and seeing more light in every interaction, in every being, sending more love, sending more compassion, which is the fifth Reiki principle, then if we see more light in the world, then surely that is protecting us already. That is already around us. We are divinely universal. We are a wonderful aspect of that light that many people the separating from themselves. I feel personally is the separating them from themselves, and the using other things to maybe give them that power, rather than using things as a tool, or rather as an aid to assist. They're using it more, giving that the power rather than the actual practice. So yeah, I use sage, I use incense, I love using crystals. But for me, they're just a stepping stone. They're a doorway. They're an access point, or they're a tool. Rather than feeling that I need them. I don't need them. And I only really use them when I feel like it. And that's only every now and again. So yeah, I don't, I just think, I think it's just being a little bit more out of the box a little bit with the thinking, and not being so totally objective to everything that's around us, and more internalizing, because we can transform a space, we can transform a room, we can transform an environment just by up here, by our thinking, by our minds, by what we're holding on to. Are we holding on to worry of a situation? Are we holding on to an anger of a situation? Are we sending out more compassion and love, or are we sitting in lower vibrational frequencies? I think it ultimately all comes down to us, and how we live and how we internalize things. And if we're not mentally and emotionally balanced, then that's going to have a knock-on effect outwards.
Yeah, you know, that's I think that's a big thing, is people relying upon crutches, probably a good way of putting it, and walking around on crutches when you know they don't understand that that's not for the walking, unless you're injured. And I agree, you know, people put what I call superstitious intent into things, which is probably like a big issue, probably when it comes to all fields of esoteric, occult, spiritual, Reiki, healing work, psychic work. Funny thing, like last night, I was in my kitchen and I suddenly got hit by a wave of lemon. I'm very in my senses. I'm very sensual, very sensuous. What do you call it? Sensual. And I got hit by a wave of citrus smell and lemon, and I was like, it smells so good. Where's the lemon coming from? But there were no lemons anywhere. I was like, lemons are in the fridge, dude. What's going on? And I was smelling this and smelling this and smelling this, and I was like, but it was following me around everywhere I went. I was like, okay, hold on. I had to stop and think. And then it occurred to me, oh right, yeah, I promised my son I was going to make him a hot lemon and honey. And he had just gotten out of the shower with his mother, and he was getting dressed. He was rushing into the kitchen, like coming to sit there, like waiting. And I was like, oh right, of course. He was in his mind thinking about this. So he could, in his mind, smell the lemons, and so I could smell the lemons because his intent was on me. It's interesting how these sensual connections work. And he's like me. His moon's also in Taurus. His sun's also in Leo. We've actually got very similar charts. It's quite freaky, actually. It's like a little chip of the old block. Also very sensual, you know, sensually based. And I think that's an interesting perspective. Like you speak about the internalization and which to me shouts and screams of the pituitary, the hormonal systems, the emotional systems, the internalized, what we call emotional intelligence. I think it's been demonized in this day and age because we've all been taught to be rational. And the word irrational is thrown around as if it's an insult. When someone says to me, you're being irrational, I'm like, yeah, I am, aren't I? I'm not rationing my thoughts. Like, there's no rationing here. Like, dude, my mind's wide open. Like, what do I need to ration my mind for? And that's an interesting concept. And there's another insult that gets thrown around. And I use the word like insult. It's not really an insult, but it's like a criticism, which is a negative elemental criticism, is when someone says you are self-conscious. Yes, of course I'm self-conscious. I'm very self-conscious. Yeah. Apparently it's bad to be self-conscious. Like, what world are we living in that's being self-conscious is a bad thing? Like we're supposed to
Yeah.
be self-conscious, right?
Yeah.
So like I think a lot of it's to do with this throwaway society we're living in, this
Mm.
shopping, materialism. That must be a big challenge. Like a lot of people probably come to you with a materialist attitude, and this is like to do with your work specifically. And I thought I'd ask you like how this works. Like they come to you with the attitude of, you're the doctor, I've got something broken, you must fix it, and now you do your job and now it's fixed, and they don't understand that there's a process
Mm.
and they are part of it.
Yeah.
How do you deal with this, and what are your feelings and thoughts on this?
It's funny you should mention that, because there is a few clients that always come to me and they always say, and I'll ask them how they're doing. I'll ask them how they're feeling, what they've been going through, and I'll always say, oh, well, my hip's been killing us, my back's aching, all this other stuff. So I'll sit down with them and I'll have a conversation. I'll just say, right, what exercise you been doing? Are you doing any movement? Are you doing any stretches? So that this is where kind of like what I do, especially with the different practices that I have now within this business, it's classed as mind and body coaching, really. So I'm going through, like, I'm talking to them like, how much water are you drinking? What are you eating? What's your lifestyle like? Are you doing some exercise? Are you doing this? What's your emotional state? What is there anything going on that's holding you back, that you're feeling trapped with? So I'm trying to get them to understand that the pain in the back and the pain in the hip, more often than not, are going to be manifestations of our way of being. So it's what we're thinking. As I experienced through the anxiety and the depression, my body, my joints, my aching back, my skin flare-ups, my issues was all the mind and my emotional and mental state attacking and trying to tell me through my physical body that there was something going on. So, and I've made a lot of videos about this before, that if people are only going to come to me, say, once a month to help with whatever it might be, this physical ailment, because a lot of the times with people, it is like, it's a physical thing, it's a physical ailment, and I always try to explain to them that, one, the physical body is the last thing that is going to get any healing. We have to balance the mind and the emotions and access your spiritual energy first. Then the physical healing starts to take place. But that's always kind of like the last point. But also, if they're not practicing things in between sessions, if they're not trying to, maybe, if they've got something wrong with say sciatica, if they're not going to stretch, if they're not going to walk, if they're not going to work on the flexibility, if they're not going to do a bit of maybe strength training, or maybe just something just to move the body rather than just being sat all the time, then
swimming,
then they're not really going to get anywhere, because they're just coming to me once a month thinking that I'm going to fix all their problems. So it's a 50-50 sort of contribution, where they've got to do their bit between sessions and I can do my bit there, and I can advise and coach in a way in between sessions for them. But it is very physical, and a lot of people are very physical orientated in this materialistic world. And like you said earlier, they come to me thinking, right, well, you're the doctor, you're the healer, whatever, you're going to heal me. But it's down to, it's this cooperation. It's got to be an aspect of them taking accountability for themselves. So if they're coming to me with a bad back, but they're not realizing that it's all the stress that they're putting themselves under, it's all the worry that they're carrying, it's all these other things that they're carrying through life that's making their back ache so much. And that's where I was mentally with the anxiety. I was constantly worried. I was constantly in fight or flight. And when you're constantly in fight or flight, your body is going to show you through your lower back, through your digestive system, through your stomach, through your shoulders. If you're carrying a lot of weight and a lot of worry, you're going to have issues in the neck, you're going to have issues in the shoulders. And it's just trying to tune in and listen to the body and listen to what the body is trying to tell us. So through the practice, I kind of like learn through the meditation practice, discovering the Reiki, through the practice, through the sitting, through the listening, through awareness, internal awareness and external awareness, of course, as well. But the internal awareness is so much more important, to be able to listen and tune in with the body and just think, oh, right, what's that? What am I feeling? Why is that there? I've been struggling with this feeling in my body for quite some time. Okay, body, what are you trying to tell me? And I had this issue probably a couple of years ago. I had constant issues with my stomach, acid reflux flare-ups all the time. And so, I'm just going to sit down with this because I'm getting a bit pissed off with it. Sat down with it, listened to it. Okay, body, what are you trying to tell me? I just meditated with it and just tuned into my stomach. And the first word, the first emotion that I felt was this anger. And I thought, well, I'm not really an angry person, but hey ho, let's go with it. So I was like, okay, anger, what? I don't need you here anymore. I'm going to let go of this anger. I don't need this anger. This anger doesn't have permission to be here with me anymore. I'm going to let it go. You don't need to be here. It's time for you to go. And I just kept repeating that over and over and over again, while having my hands on my stomach, just giving myself this Reiki as well at the same time. And after a few times of repeating that, I could feel the emotion sort of lifting from my stomach. I could feel this twitching energy internally. I let out this huge belch, and that was it. Gone, released. And that was just kind of like just from sitting and talking to the body. And it takes practice, it takes time, it takes a level of balancing awareness and ego and understanding. Is it the body speaking? Is it the ego speaking? Is it the higher self connection? Is it something else? This, because the ego always tries to come in and tell you, oh no, it's not that, that's your mind making stuff up. So it's understanding this balance. And again, as we were talking about with the third eye, the pineal, pituitary, this understanding, this rationalization, this balancing within the mind. It takes time to learn and understand which is which. And that's what we've got to kind of like work with on a little bit of a deeper level. But with the physical people, with the people that are more in that reality and that realm of things, especially with things like nerve pain, sciatic, back pain, I tend to just do the treatment on that area, and stay with that one area pretty much for nearly the full hour of the hands-on healing. And they will feel a benefit from it. They will feel a reduction in pain. They will feel a reduction in spasms within the body. But I also reiterate to them that you've got to do this stuff in between. It's not just about turning up. You've got to slow down. You've got to listen to your body. You've got to stretch. You've got to swim. You've got to do some sort of body work to work with that and understand what's going on deeper.
Yeah, that I've also noticed, like for people who look for like healing kind of work, I always explain to them, sure, like I'm a conductor, like I can help conduct energy and start the ball rolling for you. And sure, you can feel great, like because the energy is all flowing and now your meridians are all open and you feel good, because like if you've got open meridians, you can be infectious in a good way towards other people, right? Like my meridians are open, energy's flowing. I infect you with my open meridians. Now you feel all like, wow, hi. But the mental attitude will bring you back to your previous like you say, unless you do something to maintain that flow.
Yeah.
And that comes back down to free will and personal choice. Addiction, here's an interesting thing. Like I've noticed in the past, I've had people who come to me and they get addicted to whatever work that I'm doing, like with them, and I have to say to them, listen, you getting addicted. At some point you got to start like thinking about like your own, how you're going to start applying whatever. Do you find that is something that happens sometimes? Like people keep coming back and they get addicted to the same thing to the point where it's almost like it can become a bit frustrating to me sometimes, where I have to say to people like, listen, you know, like, aren't you getting tired of this?
Yeah.
Do you get that as well?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Not so much these days. People tend to be a little bit more, yeah, they tend to be a little bit more accountable, and they will take the information on. But there has been in the past, there has been people that have, the book, they have this sort of like, they have this crisis, or they have something going on where, oh, I don't know how to deal with it. I don't know how to deal with that. Yeah, I'm going to have to book a Reiki session. And sometimes, in the past, it's been like I've been doing distance sessions for the same person like twice a week because of this like kind of like emergency. And I'm just like, you've really got to just let go of this thing that you've got mentally about this being the solution to all the problems. And the problem within so many people that you can come into contact with is they just don't want to be accountable for themselves. They want someone else to point a finger at and say they can help me, they can support me. And that's disempowerment. They're giving their power away to somebody else. But as soon as something doesn't work or something isn't right, they point the finger straight back at you because you're the person that was meant to sort everything out for them. And you're like, but how many times have I been telling you the same message, and you're only just starting to realize that now? I said this to somebody, one person in particular. I said this for years, literally years. You need to get grounded. You need to get out of your head. You need to get away from those thoughts. You need to calm this down. You need to calm the mind, do some meditation, get into nature, ground, walk in the grass, get some grounding crystals, all these different practices that you can advise. Get into the body, get more physical, do some exercise, get on a bike, go for a walk, whatever. But get it, because the world's so geared to get people stuck in here, stuck in the head, stuck in the TV, the media, the bullshit that we see on the screens and all that. As soon as people are stuck there, it's very difficult to pull them out of that. And being stuck in the head is what's getting people ungrounded. They're out of the body. They're like, oh my God, oh yeah, they're in fight or flight all the time. And it's very difficult to get people to actually rationalize and and get back into the body, get back into grounding themselves, getting back into some sort of stability, and not being accountable for themselves, and just saying, I need to book this, I need to book a healing session. Oh my God, I've had this argument with somebody. Oh my God, somebody looked at me the wrong way. I need a healing session. You're like, for fuck's sake, like, you need to get a grip. You really do.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this is something that pops up every once in a while, and it's quite difficult to deal with when you have to confront a client and say, "Listen, I think you're a bit full of it." No offense, but it's like, I really think you got to like look like. Have you got a mirror in the house? Let yourself in front of that mirror and take a good look.
Yeah.
Does that person piss you off? Because that's usually, everything seems to start with the self, doesn't it? We carry an attitude to a room, and people react to that attitude. So people will either be your friend or they'll be your enemy. And okay, you do get obnoxious people in the world. Let's not pretend you don't. But most often, in my experience, in my opinion, we're more like animals than what we realize. We react to our surroundings and other people. And someone comes into a room and they're a bit like, they got like a gruff, anxious, whatever energy, and people will react to that. So what do you say to your clients when it comes to, that they are like, this one's out to get me, that one's out to get me, this one's like, oh, they come and complain about people in the workplace or whatever, and everybody's there like enemy, and then they tell you about, oh, they've got a problem with this family member's out to get me, and this friend's been talking about and you start noticing a pattern, like, hold on, you're surrounded by all these people out to get you. Have you thought maybe looking inwards? How do you cope? How do you help your clients to cope with those kind of impressions?
It's kind of like, what I try to do is I try to just make them think of the situation in a different way. So I try to get them to maybe, like you just said there, maybe there's a dispute at home and something's going on. And straight away, because of the person's maybe mental or emotional place, they're taking it totally out of context. So then you have to try and make them realize, well, actually, that other person could have actually meant this, or they could have meant that, or it could be all these different things, but you are picking on that one thing that you think it is. Maybe just rewire your thinking. Think of it in a different way. Think of maybe they've gone through something that day that's made them react that way. There's so many different things that um, we can often just point a finger at and look at the negative and look at sort of like, because it's very easy. It's the easiest thing is to point to the negative. It's the instant reaction that so many people point to. It's like in customer service, the easiest thing is to give a negative feedback. But if you ask somebody for a positive feedback, oh my word, it's like trying to get blood out of a stone. It can be one of the most difficult things. So we're so conditioned to look for the negative response, the negative attitude. Um, and it's just trying to help people to understand that there's more than one way to perceive things. It's not just that they've seen. Um, I have even discussions with people that I work with and whatever, and they'll say to me about certain situations, something's happened, this hasn't happened, or I've not got my day off, but I'm having to do this, that, and the other. And I'm like, well, you just gotta like, again, to me, a lot of it's just about letting go, and it's about letting go of this ego thing that people always have this identity that the world is geared around them in some way, and everything has to revolve around them. And it's trying to make them realize that there's actually lots of other people in the periphery that we also have to think about. And it's not just this one person in the middle. We've got to think about all the other situations. And yeah, someone might come to me, like I had a new client not so long ago, dealing with a lot of stress. They have 3 businesses that they can't find any downtime and da 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 da. So I just asked the question, well, why can't you find downtime? Why can't you find like time to stop, to just be, to just give yourself some space? Well, I've got to do this, and I've got to help my such and such do that, and I've got to do that, and I've got to do that. I was like, well, have you not got people in places that can help you with that? That can maybe do them jobs to support you, so you're not overwhelmed with all this stuff that you're taking on. Well, yeah, I have, but I don't really trust them, and da, 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 da. I was like, well, that's down to you, really, isn't it? If you don't trust them, then that's your level of training for them. You've got to maybe refocus that and relook at that and retrain them so that they get to a point to give you the space that you need desperately to just stop, to let go of some of this stress that you're holding on to. And it's just trying to rewire people's thinking into looking at life and looking into situations in a different way, rather than just thinking of just like, oh, here we go again, another fucking day, it's all going to be shit, da, 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 da. You get stuck into this rhetoric and that way of being. And you just got to try and make people think a little bit outside the box beyond that. It's difficult. It is difficult. But I think with time and with practice, and if they uphold their practice and do the practice between sessions, it is possible. And I've seen it with people that it is possible. But they've got to take, as we said at the beginning of this discussion today, they've got to take the accountability for themselves. They've got to take hold of the reins.
Yeah, I think like it's very sad that corporations have the keys to our social networking platforms, and they control the edge ranking, and the AI systems are trained by the edge ranking of the old Facebook and Twitter to feed off negativity. So, and so we've been sort of trained through our social networks, on our social networking, that negativity is a source of currency. Obviously, because negativity means addiction. addiction means more FaceTime on Facebook or Twitter, it means more money for them at the end of the day. It means more
Yeah.
users. It means more focus. It means they can advertise more. It means financial gain to whoever's the owner or the CEO or the shareholders of that corporation, so that they have their vested interest. It's sad that the financial system is rigged in such a way that, you know, these gangsters get to control our communications. But I wanted to change gears a little. I wanted to focus on just the sensitivity of energy. And I've noticed, like, there are a lot of different ways of experiencing energy, and that's quite interesting. You know, you can see it radiating through your body. You can feel it as like vibrations in the body. You can feel it as a tingling sensation that moves around. It can be like shivers that run up your spine and down your spine and raising the hair, goosebumps. It can be warmth. A lot of people experience it warmth. How do you primarily, I mean, obviously it's not going to be the same all the time, depends on the elemental energy, but how do you most often experience the sensation of energy moving through your body, through your meridians?
For me personally, it's usually tingling. It's usually cool or heat, cool spots or heat spots. Sometimes a little shivers, but not so much shivers. But predominantly, it's that fine vibration. Sometimes you can feel it around sort of like your auric field. Sometimes you feel it internally within your actual physical body. You can feel it moving down through your body as well, and little that's, you know, when you come to your mind body connection, you really focusing your awareness deeply within the body, and you're tuning into the energy and like, okay, what am I feeling there? And tuning deeply into your body and into your internal energy systems and your organs, and really tuning into that wonderful, it's so subtle and it's so gentle, but it's just there, and you just feel it radiating. And I think you get to a point through your practice where you just feel the whole body is complete energy. You just feel it in every limb, every part of your body. You just know that it's energy. But when you begin, I think when I started my practice, it was always about like being in meditation, closing my eyes and just placing my awareness in maybe the hand, or maybe the feet, and just tuning into those areas and really being deeply aware of that fine tingling vibration. But now it just pervades. I just feel it as a pervading through the whole being, really. Yeah, very subtle, very fine.
Yeah, I think most people don't realize that they've all felt energy. You just don't know when they're doing it, you know.
Yeah.
The less typical one is the feeling of wetness. See, like, people don't realize, like, that feeling of moisture when you feel like there's a moisture in your body or on your body or something. Like, do I feel wet? No, you don't feel wet. You're just feeling. This little guy's getting like, yeah, he's getting tricky. He doesn't know where he wants to be. Is that feeling of you know, like there's some kind of a substance that you can feel, but it's not mental, it's not physical wetness. It's like a psychic, unconscious receptivity to some kind of a fluidic flow feeling.
Yeah.
But it's interesting, like the tingling. I always think that the tingling is like more in tune with the vibration, and the vibration seems to be like the, you know, the higher frequency of the energy. It's just like there's a whole different bandwidths of these energies that we can experience in different ways. And that's quite interesting, you know. The heat and the cool spots as well. Very often people think they need to take off or put on a jacket. It's funny, you'll see people like in a cold room, they got to take their jacket off. It's like, what's going on here? You know,
Yeah.
or they're in a hot room, they're getting cold. I'm gonna put on it's not cold.
Yeah.
Well, think about why your body's cold, like, for a moment, like, what's really going on here? And so most people are actually in tune with energy unconsciously, but they because of materialized perspectives, and when I say materialized, like living in this material consciousness-based physical reality, which we think is so finite, which is actually not what it seems. It seems like it's a solid, hard world, but when you actually look at it, it's not quite what it seems. Like there's a lot more to this physicality than what meets the eye,
Mm.
as the
Yeah.
saying goes. And I think that's probably an interesting point for a lot of people that haven't felt energy. You mentioned Moldavite. Moldavite has a particular wonderful kick to it, doesn't it? It's like
Mm.
it's a kickstart engine.
It
Like,
certainly
for a lot of
is.
people that
Yeah.
haven't felt, if they hold a piece of Moldavite, they will feel it. Like my girlfriend's
Mm.
got a piece. She's so super sensitive. She doesn't use it very often because I gave her a nice size piece, and it's like it's intense. Like if you're already very sensitive to energy, like she is,
Mm.
you probably just touch it once in a while and go, whoa, I feel like lightheaded if I hold that for too long, you know. It's like I'm gonna spin. Like, where was my body? Where did I put the body? You know, it's over here somewhere. Like I knew I had one. Like, but so I suppose that's quite an interesting thing that a lot of people are picking up on. Is hence the price of Moldavite, right? Just
Mm.
become like ridiculous in the last
Yeah.
decade, the last couple of decades. I jumped on the Moldavite bandwagon before the price escalated too much because I
Mm.
knew it was going to happen, and I was like, I'm going to make investments into Moldavite so that I've got a collection. I'll never have to buy any ever again. Um, so like I bought a good like I don't know, a couple of 100 grams of it. So
Mm.
that and you give away a piece here and there, and that's how it works. But yeah, I think like that's an interesting starter engine that can start the process of people becoming aware of energy in the body. However, I also thought to focus on diet and water. What do you think about the food we eat, the water, modern food? What do you say to your clients if they want to become more sensitive to energy about their diets and how they eat, not just what they eat, but possibly how they eat? I'll
Mm.
leave that to you.
Yeah, that's also like a very, very important and uh, powerful point to do with energy. Is like what we're fueling our body with. Because I think a lot of people think of like energy and energy healing as this kind of like hands-on, woo-woo, mystical stuff. But the very foundations of what we're eating is energy. It fuels our body, but it's also the quality of the fuel that we're consuming. And the word consuming is also what we're consuming around us. So what are we listening to? What are we watching? So it's not just the food, it's every part that we're consuming. But obviously talking about the food, um, I often just say to people, what is your diet like? Are you eating a lot of processed food, heavy processed food, or are you eating more natural foods like fruits, nuts, berries, whole foods? Not things that have been packaged and put in a plastic tub to stick in a microwave. Because that's all really, really heavy, dense processed food. So that obviously that brings your vibration down. Same with the water. Like for years now, I've always filtered my water for a long, long time. And I've also, for many, many years, used fluoride-free toothpaste as well, and found great benefit just from those two things in my own health to begin with. Um, and when you taste the filtered water to the actual tap water, the difference is just ridiculously insane between the two. And I know that's just from a water filter, so you could have a distiller or this, that, and the other, but just the water filter itself, it takes all that heavy crap out of the water. So again, are people drinking enough water? A
What
lot of
kind
the
of a
time,
what kind of a water filter do you mean?
the one that I first used, I'm on my second one now, but just like the ones you stick in the fridge, the plastic ones with the cartridge that you put in, that's the ones that I've always used. The first one that I got was a lot better than the one I have now, but the company that, ironically, the company from the first one that I had, they've gone out of business now. They're no longer in operation. Whether it's because it was that good. I'm not too sure. So I've just got another one now, which I don't think it's as good, but it still helps the water a lot. And I can actually drink the water, whereas before I just couldn't drink like the tap water. Tap water as such is just like it's just poison basically. It's just utter crap. Um, so yeah, that's one thing that a lot of people I find are not drinking enough of is water, but also filtered water, because that helps to flush the body. And I always say to people, after a Reiki treatment, just make sure you drink plenty of water afterwards, filtered water, just to release and purify and remove any of the toxins from within the body as well. But I think, yeah, I mean, diet and the consumption of what we're putting into our body is absolutely vital. And there's a great emphasis that's been coming out over probably the last 5 years, where they've talked a lot about a lot heavy metals and metals that's in kind of the water, the food, the processed food, medication, because obviously the kidneys, the liver, they're the most heavily targeted organs in the body, because they filter all the crap out of the blood. So yeah, there's a lot that I think people need to take into account, definitely, with regards to like their own health and being able to fuel the body effectively.
Yeah, and microplastics. Oh my gosh, don't even get me started on
Yeah,
microplastics. That's a big one.
Mm.
I'm very lucky. My girlfriend, she lives in Constantia, near the base of one mountain. Here, I don't have she's got a proper filtration system. So it takes the water out of the earth,
Mm.
the well water,
Wow, beautiful.
after it's filtered by the mountain. And then it's just got a cleansing filter that cleans that water. And so that's basically what we drink more of, or bottled water. But bottled water, I'm so wary of the microplastics. How long has that water been in a plastic bottle, right? Has it been standing in there for 6 months or a year? The plastic does dissolve. You do take in microplastics. You think you're doing well by drinking bottled water. Definitely, whatever that comes out of the taps that the government has concocted for you isn't the solution, right?
No. Yeah.
We know that they're on our side. They're not like trying to make healthy water. They actually could very easily make really high quality water for us, which is an interesting point. Like, we should have two separate water systems. We should have a drinking water system and a washing and toiletry water system, right?
Yeah.
We should not be using the same water.
No.
It doesn't make sense, because it's either you're working too hard to clean water to flush it down the toilet, or you're not giving your drinking water the requirement that it needs. So I think that's a valid point that you make. And a lot of these fancy filter systems, they're quite cheap these days. Like, I bought one for like 100 quid, but it takes it down to 5 microns. 5 microns. Takes everything out of the water. It strips the water. But then if you use that, you have to add in some Himalayan rock salt, black salt.
Yeah.
I would combine black salt, pink salt, and what's the salt in England that they have in that part of England? Epsom salts.
Epsom. Yeah.
A little bit of Epsom, a good amount of black, and a little bit of pink salt, and then put it into a solution, and then you have a ppm meter and get it to about 60 or 70 ppm. It's a nice amount. 80 ppm, 100 ppm. Like, we need salts in our water. That's an interesting point. But that's a really, it's a big thing that people, they come for a healing session and then they go out and eat processed food, and you're like, what is the point of that?
Yeah.
Like, what was the point of, like, like, wouldn't it be better if you just ate proper food? Oh, and alcohol. You're a blues musician, so you obviously go and play blues. You're a guitarist, aren't you? A blues guitarist.
Yeah,
man, I've heard your music. You should put that stuff out there. I'm pretty sure. Have you got a blues channel?
we've got a YouTube channel for the band I used to be in. Yeah, yeah. Two Blue Band on YouTube. It's called. Yeah, you can see me there with my
Nice,
long
nice.
hair. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Definitely. Um, haven't you been playing recently? Or
Yeah, me and the guitarist from that band, we've been getting together and sort of reviving some of the old original songs that we had before.
nice.
So we're kind of like doing a little bit of a mini revival with some of the songs that we used to do. Yeah, so he's quite good at like the recording. So he's got like all the packages on his laptop, and yeah, we've put a couple of songs out. We're going to do another two at the end of this month, get them finished, because he puts all his bits down on the track, and then I'll go over and I'll just add the vocals and my bits of guitar, and then he'll master it, and then sort of release it and what have you. So yeah, but it's no,
Is it?
it's good.
That's lovely. Yeah, you know, like I love music, but I don't really go out to listen to music anymore just because generally where music is played, people are drinking. And I
Yeah.
just find like it annoys me a bit being around people that, because they don't really drink. Like I might have the odd ale, but then it's got
Mm,
to be a locally brewed ale that's locally brewed. I know where it's brewed locally, old fashioned
mm,
brewing system. It doesn't taste like that beer that they sell in the shops. It's
yeah.
Devil's Peak, which is literally like I could probably walk there from here. It would take me like half a day, but
Mm,
it's you know it's local, and small breweries, you know, artesian breweries, and then I'll have like one
yeah.
small. I don't even have a pint, and
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah.
maybe
Yeah.
months and months apart, or a year. You know, like the odd
Yeah. Yeah.
like, oh, it's time for a bit of ale,
Yeah.
but a lot of people they really abuse alcohol, and so what are your thoughts of drinking alcohol, the effect on the energetic system for people out there to be aware of?
I
Smoking
think
cigarettes as
yeah.
well, drugs.
Well, yeah. I mean, I used to smoke like a lot back in the day. I used to drink a lot back in the day until I started like kind of like awakened to it all. But yeah, I mean, again, it's all like kind of like toxic that we're putting into the body. Really, it's not really. I mean, I don't drink at all now. And if I do have one, I think I would be on the floor in no time. You know, I would just be no no good to anyone. And I think the last time I had a drink was probably it might have been last September for like someone's birthday, and then I had maybe like 2 pints, but that was it. And the next day I was just written off. I was just like I was no good. I was just like that's why I don't drink. So yeah, but I mean, I think a lot of people when they just live in that way, they just think that's just the way it is. That just becomes their way of life. It's all they know. It's all they've ever known. And especially when it's like if you see people like old soaks, you know, they stood outside the pub waiting for it to open and they're there from opening time till closing time. And that's just the way that they've lived. And it's a shame really because there's so much more that they could get from life. But it's a little bit like, you know, if I was born in in a mental asylum and that's all I really know. So if people are like going to the pub every day and that's all they've ever known for many years of their life, that's all they really know, and they've kind of conditioned the body and the mind to be that way. And I think a lot of the time people are so mentally and emotionally imbalanced that they need that addiction to drown and suppress something internally, when in actual fact they should be stopping that to be able to address what they're feeling internally. But it's a real difficult one to get across to people. But it's at the end of the day, what I always say to people as well, especially when I've done hypnotherapy for clients, if they want to quit something such as smoking or drinking, they've got to actually want it. They've got to want at least 80% to be able to stop. If they only want 70%, 60%, 50%, then it's not going to happen. They've got to want, because I can't make them do anything. But if they really want it and they really want to change from where they are to a new way of being, to a new level of self-realization, then they've really got to want that. And then we can start making the steps towards towards that. But it's really difficult. And when people are hardwired that way and they've been that way for so long, it's because that's the coping mechanism that so many people have known about for centuries, I suppose, really, is to go and drink, and culturally, that's, I suppose, that was kind of like the way of being. That's the way it was. But I think as the world's waking up, and as people are waking up, they're becoming more aware of, actually, I can get more done now because I don't drink. I wake up nice and early. I feel fresh. I feel energized. I can go for a run. I can do some exercise. I'm eating proper food. I'm doing my meditation, or I'm doing my yoga, or I'm going for my Reiki treatments every 2 weeks, every month. I'm working on my own energy, because everything that they're doing within their practice is utilizing their energy and feeding their energy in a holistic way. They're looking after themselves to become whole. But if there's something just not quite in line, it's going to affect the whole equilibrium, the whole balance. And that's what alcohol and smoking, a lot of this sort of stuff can do and does do to the person.
Well, brother, that's, I think, probably a good place for us to settle the realism of our lifestyles and how that's going to feed through. Thank you for an absolutely wonderful conversation. That almost hour and a half just flicked by. We could probably talk for hours.
Blink of an eye.
Blink of an eye, man. It's absolutely lovely chatting with you. And everybody, you can find his Reiki channel, the Reiki Journey. If you just go and look in my recommended channel, just scroll down and just look. You'll see there's probably about, I don't know, 8, 9, 10 channels that I recommend. Ian's is one of them. And go and smash him a thumbs up, subscribe, take a look at his content. It's good to have grounded, rational, as well as intuitive, heart open on all levels people in this field, because there are so many woo-woos out there.
Yeah.
People that are, I'm suffering ascension symptoms, Anyway, dear brother, it's been an absolutely lovely discussion. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. And
You too,
so
brother.
much love, blessings, peace, honor, and respect. And to all of you watching, I hope you guys came and enjoyed and got what you came for. Om Shanti. Big love.
Thank you.
Big
Thank you.
blessings.
Bye-bye.